Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Talk Williams, host and creator of Hip Hop 50th. Yes, it is Friday night. It is definitely Friday night. It's almost midnight where I'm at. I'm actually on East Coast time, Eastern Standard Time. And it is what? Quarter to 12, 10 of 12, something like that. I'm actually in a hotel room right now. I'm getting ready to go to bed, but I just wanted to jump on here for a few because, again, I've been looking at some articles and other things coming out from the news media about AI and jobs. That's right. And my concern, or what I like to raise awareness about, is for knowledge workers, people who earn a living based on their knowledge, working computer systems, working accounting, working law, any of the things that people do as knowledge workers. um, we are definitely vulnerable to be replaced or eliminated by AI. And I know it's cool when we can go on our phones and we can go on our desktop and have this conversation with the likes of a Chat GPT or Google's Gemini or Anthropic's Claude for coding assistance and different things like that. But that's one thing, to drill down to the different nuances and provide context through prompting back and forth like it's a dialogue with an AI engine or LLM. But there's another thing when in corporate America, or for people who have businesses and for their clients that they normally get, or at least the volume of clients that they get and the services levels that they provide to them, those things will be and are being eliminated. Now, is it today? Is it right now? No, but it's the trajectory. It's what's to come. And when you see these layoffs from these major companies, these big tech companies, and you see all of this new innovation and you hear about it on the back end of different systems and even small businesses and mid-sized businesses, it's definitely coming. It's there. It's being worked on now. So it's almost like people have a grace period. Knowledge workers have somewhat of a grace period for the most part. Some people are already being eliminated. Those positions will not be filled back with human beings. Those titles will change. Other people, other things, other tasks, other directives for some title similar to that will rise out of that. The question is though, what do you do? What do you tell your kids, your young adults, your nieces and nephews who are in school right now for some type of technology? Me personally, I think for the next 3 to 5 years, there's still some strong footholding there. But even with something like Amazon, with the fulfillment centers, what I refer to as the warehouses where they do the deliveries. I just learned how to say it properly the other day when they was talking about it on the news. I didn't know they was called fulfillment centers, where they do all get all the products and things like that ready and boxed up and taped and organized and loaded up on the trucks. And then I heard they were called fulfillment centers. But either way, this lets you know right here what Amazon is in the process of doing. Let me jump on this article right here again, guys. I just look at it that way because I know for a lot of people, it's going to strike them. It's going to catch them by surprise, even though that they're hearing about it now. It's just going to be right at your doorstep, and it's going to be too late or too little too late to even make a move about what you're going to do or how to even do it. That's the way I look at this thing. And that's why I say, for the youth, I think they will be okay for the most part because they don't know anything different. They don't have contrast. But if you're 50, 55, and 60, and you don't plan on retiring yet, and you cannot retire yet, and you are a knowledge worker, here's some of the things to come. Here's a leaked article or a leaked piece of media or something like that they were talking about Amazon just yesterday. Check this out.
First of This morning, concerns that Amazon, the second largest private employer in the country, is planning one of the biggest workplace transformations in modern history.
In a fulfillment center, the Cardinal robot will pack packages into carts
The New York Times, citing leaked documents, reports Amazon expects sales to double by 2033, growth that would normally require 600,000 more workers. But the company is reportedly looking to fill those jobs with robots and automate 75% of its operations.
We could do this with our robot. We could do this with our technology. That's what we're going to do.
In the near future, Amazon reportedly estimates automation could help it save more than $12 billion and shave about 30 cents off each item it ships. In a statement, Amazon said the leaked documents reflect the perspective of just one team and don't represent our overall hiring strategy, adding that the company is actively hiring and plans to fill 250,000 positions for the holiday season.
One of the things that we've been proud of over our 10-year history is the ability to develop robots that work well alongside people.
It comes amid growing fears of technology replacing human workers. The so-called godfather of artificial intelligence has been sounding the alarm.
If I worked in a call center, I'd be terrified. If I was someone like a legal assistant, a paralegal, they're not going to be needed for very long. For mundane intellectual labor, AI is just going to replace everybody.
Well, Amazon has said it's busy training human workers for high-paying jobs that will include working with robotics.
Now, that's true. I wouldn't doubt that for a minute, that Amazon isn't doing that. But here's the situation. Here's the reality of it. Amazon is saying that they're going to make or save 30 cents per item with the AI robots. Think about that. 30% of anything is 1/3 of 100%, basically. And pretty much what's going to happen is Amazon is going to empower people. They're going to say, look, hey, you know that extra help that you always wanted, that extra help that we always felt like you needed? We got some robots for you. These robots will be your assistant. They will assist you. You're in charge of the robots. So, of course, they're going to train some people in different things like that. But ultimately, though, a lot of young college kids, a lot of young adults that could depend on working at these Amazon fulfillment centers in between their semesters or until they could do better or in combination with driving Uber or some other thing so that they could earn something, so they could be active and have a way to go as a go-to. If you don't want to do the McDonald's and you don't want to do these other things and whatever else is out there, you could get a job at an Amazon fulfillment center. That's been a go-to. That situational opportunity is going to shrink tremendously because Amazon was at an event called, let me see the name of this event here. This is a different event that Amazon was at. And what they were saying at the event they was at was they're there to do three things with the new, this is it, delivering the future. So this is one of Amazon's representatives or somebody in their tech division that helped put together the future of an Amazon warehouse or fulfillment center. That's what this guy's talking about. And this guy says that these robots that Amazon, they're building, that they have, and the new ones that's coming, and the new warehouses, they're there to eliminate three things. He says it. I'm not making it up. And the three things that he says is menial, mundane, and repetitive. That's what he says. That's what he says these robots are going to do. It's going to eliminate the menial, the mundane, and the repetitive. Now, who do you think the menial and the mundane and the repetitive is? Do you think that's some piece of equipment laying around in an Amazon fulfillment center somewhere? No. That's the human being. Think of the term menial. Menial means it's nothing great about what you do. It's just a nuanced task that we need somebody to perform. So we have you do that. Even though nobody really thinks it's that important, it is important. It has value. It plays a role. And menial tasks typically are tasks that are assigned in jobs where it doesn't really require any documented or certified education. It just really doesn't. It really doesn't require a whole gang of experience. The learning curve for training somebody how to do these menial tasks is very short or very low. And it's typically a type of task that puts you in hazardous environmental situations, or it doesn't provide a high level of ergonomically safe working environment. These are menial tasks that people have as jobs. And then they talk about the mundane. These robots will help eliminate the mundane from Amazon. Who the hell you think they talking about is the mundane? They're not talking about a file cabinet. They're not talking about a wall. They're not talking about a piece of equipment they already have. They're talking about another group of people who are hired and are trained to do a specific thing, probably have some fancy title, but what they do is considered mundane, meaning what? It's ordinary. It's nothing special about it. Typically, when I use the word mundane, or I read it somewhere, or I hear about it, the opposite of mundane is esoteric. Esoteric being someone who's qualified, someone who's attuned, someone who's attentive, someone who knows about that particular craft, profession, domain, or space. Mundane is the opposite end of that. Yeah, very general purpose. Sure, we had to train you for the duties, but there's nothing special about you and the people who do it. And then they want to get rid of the repetitive tasks. Something that somebody does on an assembly line, something that somebody does in a call center, something repetitive, where it doesn't take a high amount of skill set. It doesn't involve immediate analysis or judgment calls. It doesn't waver. It's not as fluid. It's not a stretch of the imagination. What's going to happen on this situation versus the next. It's just repetitive. And up to this point, they've been using human beings to do it. But let's listen to the guy 2 days ago at an event called Delivering the Future, where they were presenting and demonstrating Amazon's new warehouse. Listen to this guy.
Event where you are, I mean, right now I just see a curtain, but I'm assuming there's lots of stuff happening at the event. Who's there? What's going on? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yep. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I enjoyed our conversation as well. It's just great to be here. We are at our fourth Delivering the Future event here. And there's a bunch of press that we have here. And we made a couple of big announcements in robotics today.
Can you tell us about them?
The first is in our manipulation robot that we call Blue Jay. And what Blue Jay, the way that you can think of that is that you can take 3 assembly lines and put it in the same footprint of 1. What it does is help eliminate the menial, the mundane, and the repetitive. And it could pick more than 75% of the inventory that we actually sell in our sortable network, which is a really big deal. I'm really proud of that. And I'll also say there's just something interesting about Blue Jay as well, as compared to our other bird manipulation systems, Cardinal, Sparrow, and Robin. It took us about 3 years to kind of design, deploy, and get out to our frontline employees. We have actually done Blue Jay with the power of AI in just over a year. So it's really had accelerated the pace of innovation.
I think when a lot of people think about Amazon and robots, I just want to jump in because we don't have a ton of time, but we'll get to some of the other announcements. They think about the Kiva Systems robots, the big acquisition at the time, 2012. That was a big acquisition for Amazon, and they've seen pictures of the way that those can move large loads of things across warehouses. But if you were to go into a state-of-the-art Amazon warehouse today, what would you see that's in addition to those Kiva robots?
Yeah, in addition to the world's first goods-to-person fulfillment strategy, which was just a really good idea, where we have more than 1 million robots that we manufacture actually in Massachusetts doing that job every day, you're going to see more of the unstructured fields, right? So you're going to see green robot that we call Proteus that can move big cargoes of packages to the right dock at the right time. You're going to see many more manipulation systems that we have in there, eliminating kind of the repetitive motions that we have. No one wants to lift a 50-pound box all day. Robin does that. Cardinal does that, moving it into some of these Proteus-bound carts that we have. You're going to see much more collaborative robotics, right? So that's where we build our robotic systems to enable people, to augment what people are capable of. And we really believe in the philosophy of people and machines working together. How can we build a tool set that enables our employees to do their job not only more efficiently, but also with better safety in mind?
All right, so there's this robot arm called Blue Jay. You just talked about it. You know, you guys are using this AI agent called Illuna. And then
Correct.
You're also working with augmented reality glasses to be worn by drivers in delivery trucks in the field. There's like so much going on. Step back for a moment, because you guys have a lot of data. You look at what you're doing. I'm just curious, investors who are thinking about Amazon and what you are doing, how do they think about the long-term like ROI, return on investment, when it comes to the investment you guys make in robots? Is the goal about labor efficiency, throughput speed, or is it margin expansion, kind of tie across your fulfillment operations? What is it?
Yeah, well, definitely efficiency. We think about efficiencies and how can we gain efficiency through all the chain of our fulfillment processes, for sure. And you mentioned data, and data is the fuel for AI systems. Data has allowed us to bring, think of the body of being our robotics, but bring the mind to robotics, allowing it to be more adaptable, more fluid. You can almost think of this as the ability to pour our robotic systems into any size building, any scale of building, to amplify what our employees are already doing. We want to give them an amazing tool set. And we see that when we do that, we're more productive, right? When you do robotics right, when you do collaborative robotics where you need both people and machines doing what they do best, and they do different things better, that it allows you to be more productive. And when you're more productive, that allows you to invest more in people. We've upskilled more than 700,000 of our employees, which is a great stat. And also in our robotics, we've expanded from the Kiva days, we've expanded from just a movement solution to now movement and mobility and sortation and storage and perception systems, packing systems that have really changed the game for our customers. That's a big deal to us.
But Ty, you know, will you need less workers? And I got to bring it up. You know, the Times had a story out. They talked about interviews and a cache of internal strategy documents that they saw, that it reveals that your execs think that the company's on the cusp of its next big workplace shift. I'm reading from the Times, and replacing more than 500,000 jobs with robots. So, you know, we know things change. I'm not in a horse and buggy anymore. I don't make things piecemeal. I get it. I don't get tons of faxes, and I don't get tons of pieces of physical mail. Thank God. Things change. Having said that, is Amazon, do you guys believe that you're on the cusp of a workplace shift and that you won't need as many workers because the advancements in robotics?
Well, there's no doubt that things change. I mean, and we're actually really proud of that at Amazon, is that we avoid stasis at all costs. We change and we adapt, and the nature of tasks definitely changes. And there's no doubt about that. We are laser focused on efficiencies inside of our buildings. But when it comes to that article was speculating 10 years out. Right, that's a 10-year speculation, and it's hard to say what's going to happen in the next 10 years. But I can tell you what happened in the last 10 years. The last 10 years, which is when we seriously invested in robotics, that we created hundreds of thousands of new jobs and new job types. And there's been no employer in the United States that has employed more people than Amazon. Like 10 years. I mean, that's the power of efficiencies and building your robots in a way that's applied and real, that actually augments the human potential.
All right, my brother say I'm like a dog with a bone. So wait, so does that mean 10 years out, it could be less jobs, or we just don't know, or you don't think that's the case?
Well, you have to think about, I mean, there's jobs and there's tasks, right? So of course, we're changing the nature of tasks. Like, I'm very bullish on eliminating every menial, mundane, and repetitive job out there.
Did you hear what he said? Did you hear that? They're very bullish. If you're familiar with the market, bullish means green, going up. Okay? They're very bullish on eliminating the menial, MENIAL, in case I'm pronouncing it because of my accent or something like that, the mundane, and the repetitive. Now, who do you think they're talking about when they said that they are bullish on eliminating the menial, the mundane, and the repetitive? They're talking about human beings. When he says that they're building robots now that can deal with unstructured tasks, understand what an unstructured task is. An unstructured task versus a structured task. That's why you need human beings. If you think about a lot of situations with AI, many of the situations, human beings just can't go away because there's so many unstructured, i.e. nuances to different tasks that people perform in between of the repetitive tasks, the mundane tasks, and the menial tasks. So initially, you got to have these human beings that work with the AI. Of course, you're going to tell the human beings that we're giving you an assistant. We're empowering you with this AI. Even a few minutes ago, he said that people driving the Amazon trucks are going to be wearing the glasses, like the Google glasses. I don't know if they're going to be called Google glasses, whatever they call. I don't know what company is making them, but whatever the VR glasses are with the camera, because Google was the first ones I saw with those, the driver's going to be wearing them. Now, why do you think the drivers are going to be wearing them? Do you think it's simply because they can see better? No. I haven't heard anything about drivers for Amazon getting into accidents, not being able to find the location of the delivery. I haven't heard any of that. Now, will there be some AI and some real micro or small functionality within those sets of glasses that will allow them to, instead of pulling their phone out and taking the picture, capture everything that they do? Of course it will. But what do you think the primary purpose of the Amazon drivers is going to serve wearing the glasses as they drive? I tell you what I think one of the primary purposes are. It's going to train the AI to the nuances of the head movement and the motions of the human being as they're driving. And then what happens after that is you won't need the driver if the robot has the same exact agility, has the same exact nuance movement, has the same exact cadence. It's too difficult to train the robot to do that now. So where else can you get a live feed from different shapes of the head, movements of the neck, blinking of the eyes, different nuances in terms of what makes a person look at a rear view mirror versus the side mirror versus not looking at all? Was it a pet barking, a dog barking in the yard walking by while they was driving? Was it the sirens of the police coming through the intersection? See, it's hard for them to capture all that and train the AI on that so that they can just put it in the robot right now. The organic way of capturing that is you have the human being wear glasses and you capture that feed of every single movement that they do, every motion. And now you take a robot and put a face on it, and then it changes from the Amazon driver driving and delivering, and then they start telling the Amazon drivers, hey, we're going to help you do your job better. And they're going to say, how you going to help me do my job better? Well, since y'all thought, it was all about those glasses, we done trained the robots enough now. They can drive and move just like y'all. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have the robots drive the Amazon vehicles, because they can do exactly that same neck movement and looking back and bending and reaching, and I drop something and I could pick it up without crashing, and what makes me look this way and that way, am I looking at a fine-ass woman walking across the intersect, all that. When y'all was wearing those glasses, it was training our AI so we could program the robot. So we're going to help you out. We're going to save you time and make it easier for you. Oh, what y'all going to do? We're going to let the robot drive, and you just sit next to the robot and you deliver the packages. And all those workers that they keep, they're going to think that's wonderful. They're going to say, oh man, this is great. You know what make it even better? What? The robot comes and pick me up in the Amazon truck to go to work. Yeah. And now all they do is the Amazon truck pull up, and now you just jump out the truck and you deliver the packages. And then the next phase of that Amazon is probably going to do is, hey, we know you can't get as much work as you can done. What if we give you a robot that can help you deliver the packages to the door too? Oh, that would be great. That would help me out so much. Oh, fine. And why are they going to do that? That's going to be the robot accompanying the human being to take the packages to the door. And every experience, the pit bull chasing them, the neighbor cursing them out, somebody trying to steal the package, somebody robbing them when they pull up, every experience that is impossible because it's too many parameters, too many dynamics. It's impossible to train the robots on now. They will get it firsthand next to the human being. That's right. And before it's over with, there will be certain deliveries that won't include a human being at all. Those structured, nice to fits, no issues, starting with corporate buildings, things like that. No human being will be delivering that at all. That's the question for the future. That's the question for your younger kids, your younger grandkids, the younger nieces, nephews, the younger kids. That becomes the question. See, it looks slick and it's going to sound slick because the people that they keep, they're going to be coming home bragging to their wife and husband and their family. Guess what? What? I've been trained, and they're going to give him a slick-ass name and make him a robot manager, a robot lead. Now, here's a person that ain't never been charged with nothing but a broomstick and a mop and their pet goldfish or something, and they're going to train them and make them in charge of some robots. But see, they don't know you training the trainer. That's what's really going on. You training the trainer, man. Okay? And here's the report. Here's another report.
Let's do a deep dive into AI. Artificial intelligence growing at lightning speed. College grads and young workers wonder what the technology means for their careers. And according to a report from Wired, economists at Stanford University say they found the strongest evidence yet that AI is starting to eliminate certain jobs. So it's a good time to bring in Will Knight, senior writer for Wired and author of the AI Lab newsletter. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's break this down. Tell us about this new research and what jobs AI will take.
Hi, yes, thanks for having me. So this report is really interesting. We often hear people say that certain jobs are going to be eliminated or there's going to be widespread unemployment, but actually there's been relatively little data to back that up. So this looked at payroll data for several years, ever since ChatGPT came online. And it shows that rather than specific types of jobs, it's particular categories of jobs and certain types of workers, mostly less experienced younger workers. So this makes sense because tools like ChatGPT can automate some of the simplest tasks, the kinds of things you might have like an intern or a junior person do in certain industries. So in places like coding or customer support, those are areas which are most sort of vulnerable to AI.
let's talk about the good side of this, okay? It's not going to take all jobs. AI could actually create opportunities, and where might we see those?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's important to note that another thing that they found was in some cases, people saw, even in those industries, saw their job opportunities increase sometimes because there are new roles for people to oversee AI and make sure that it's not making mistakes. So now one of the things is we don't know how things are going to pan out in the future, but this does suggest that there may be new categories of work. And the economists behind this recommend that what we need to do is start to think about maybe better ways of having AI and humans work together. So they recommend, additionally to this report, the idea of having benchmarks that measure how well humans and AI can collaborate. And that may encourage companies to develop new types of jobs and exploit new opportunities. There may be whole new businesses that could emerge from that.
Yeah, that leads to my next question. So with all this research in mind, where should young students and workers actually direct their focus to prepare themselves for an AI future? I know that's a big question.
It's a big question. It's a difficult one. I wish I knew. I wish I could say this was the safe place to go, because I mean I think a few years ago we all thought coding was going to be difficult to automate, and we're seeing more advanced things like math and science. But AI can tackle those. So I think the message I would say is to try and use these tools, to explore them and see how they can benefit you. I think one of the big questions we're going to face as a society is how to make sure we're still educating people so that they're really, really expert and can oversee and use these.
Yeah, absolutely. Work together, lots of laugh, train your replacement. That's absolutely what's going on. Anybody that's taking pride in working together with AI and they are unaware about what's really happening. Do I use AI? Of course I use AI. I do. I use AI to augment what I currently do. So I do a couple things that involves technology because I'm a knowledge worker, like a lot of you guys are knowledge worker. Now, of course, when we say knowledge worker, all work requires knowledge. But just to give some context to it, knowledge workers are typically people who they're performing some of their primary tasks through using computer systems or some type of applications and softwares and different things like that. And they're doing it at a level where it requires some judgment. It requires some analysis. It's not just a given. You just don't hit a button every time, even though it might be the same question. You don't hit the same button every time. Versus people who they don't really consider knowledge workers, they consider skill workers. And I'm just giving some context to this. This is not in a literal sense because, of course, it's skill and it's knowledge, and skill requires knowledge and all of that. But let's not do the semantics. Let's just understand how we've been using these terms and what we mean. Skilled workers are more like you take a bricklayer, you take a painter, you take somebody like that. A painter isn't going to, with every stroke, do analysis on the paint. Now, he will have some considerations and different things like that. A bricklayer knows so thick, right here, the temperature, different things like that. So I'm not taking away from those jobs, but when we say knowledge workers, it involves some type of automation. It involves some type of streamlining or computer system processing, some systemic processing. I use it to augment. Augment meaning what? To increase, to make better. So yes, I use it for things that I do. And many people will. And everybody won't be replaced. But make no doubt about it, working together with AI, even me using it, is training it to do what it will do in the near future. And as a result of that, you will need less human beings. You will need less exposure to lawsuits and sick time and different. Think about it. These call center workers, these customer service representatives, these first low-level support people, they really don't change a situation for nobody. They really don't. Most of the stuff they look at, they're viewing. They really don't change an account status. They really can't refund you money. They really can't tell you much more than you can already see yourself. But they will route that call and they will create an email or they will create a ticket and they'll submit some information or whatever like that. That level of so-called human job is going to be gone. It's not even going to make any sense no more. I think what's going to wind up happening soon is Congress, some policy is going to come out. You know how when they building structures, new structures in the cities or wherever, right? And they say, oh, you know what? They building these condos downtown or they building some this, that, and that. And then they have to write in there, in order to get this contract or in order to be approved, you have to rent 20% of the housing out to low income people, you know, stuff like that, right? That's what they're going to have to wind up doing with companies. Yeah. They're going to have to wind up having to coming up with policies that if you want to receive one of our federal grants, 20% or 30% or 40% of the work that's included to get done with this federal grant or this state money has to be done by human beings with a minimum amount of automation. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. They're going to have to create policies because if not, you're going to have buildings with nobody in it but a handful of people. You're going to have a bunch of stores. You're going to have a bunch of companies where you never see a human being when you walk by. The building's running, the company's running, and the lights are out. All them security guards, I understand. They're not a good example of the first line of defense for nobody. But what are they going to do? Most of them wasn't good enough to be police officers, and some of them are police officers. What are they going to do? It just wipes their job out. And I know we all have different opinions about it, right? We all have different opinions about it. I think that we, all of us, right? I think that all of us, we live in a unique time as knowledge workers, or not, right? Whatever we do, I think we live in a unique time. Why? Because we're seeing it. We're seeing it. We're seeing how it's affecting. We're seeing the growth. Like people a decade from now, a generation from now, they won't be able to understand this opportunity, what we're seeing now, what we're experiencing now. They just won't. They won't know what that is. They'll just be in it. Whatever side they be on, I don't know, but they will just be in it. And they won't have any background, any clue. They won't even know the name. I'm sitting here knowing, what is his name? Sundar Pichai and the guy for ChatGPT or OpenAI, Sam Altman, the guy behind Anthropic's Claude, Dario Amodei, the guy behind NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, the guy, you know, all of this stuff, Oracle, Larry Ellison. What am I doing knowing all of that? Why am I knowing these names? I'm knowing these names because right now, with all of the innovation and the new things and them bringing it into the homes and the bathrooms and normalizing it and all of that, because they're out here with it. Like now you can go to a Humming Face. You can go to many websites and portals and different things like that and look under the hood. We're living in a time where you can look under the hood. The time is coming, though, where people won't have a clue. Most people, they just won't have a clue. They'll just be part of the process. So for knowledge workers today, that term augmentation, augmenting what you do, increasing, making it better, we're taking advantage of it. I think we're taking advantage of it. I think that's unique for us now. And for the next 3 to 5 years, you can create and make opportunities and move on with it. You could get in it. But after about 5 years from now, which again, talking about the youth going to school, the ones that are in college coming out, the youth, they just graduated, or the other youth that have already graduated and they're under 25 or they're under 30. They're going to be facing a different type of dynamic. Like that whole idea of the workforce as we know it, it's just going to be different. Totally, completely different from now. Like I don't know what role empathy played or plays in the current workforce. You go for a job, you do the interview, different things like that, right? You get let go, whatever. I don't know what role right now empathy has played up to this point. But it seems like with automation, with AI, there won't be any place for empathy. And you can see it in these layoffs. Empathy is out. I'm going to email you. You don't work here no more. You're going to go to get into something, and you can't get in. And then you got to wait till 4 o'clock to find out you don't work here anymore. We're going to do a Zoom call. I'm going to let 37 y'all go at the same time. And y'all can, there's a link here you can click on. And any further questions, get to HR. Empathy out the window. Out the window. The human side of that is out the window. That's why a lot of times when people say these younger generation people, these people, the kids under 20 and different things like that, they have no sensitivities and no sensibilities about girding up and understanding how the job force works and interviewing different things like that. In a strange way, it's almost necessary for them to survive and not to zap out and go crazy, not to be as sensitive, to not take it so serious. Because what they're facing won't include empathy. There'll be some apathy laying around. There'll be indifference. So those survival skills, intentionally or not, will probably help them to even cope with that a little better. Now this is Dario Amodei, and he's the CEO of Anthropic. Anthropic is a large language model similar to ChatGPT, but not as good. Their thing is Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, and that's a coding assistant. So you got Gemini, Google has Gemini, OpenAI has ChatGPT, Microsoft has Copilot, Elon Musk has XAI, and Anthropic has Claude. And this is the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think it's French. But this is his take on where the market is going.
A well-known and respected tech CEO, Dario Amodei, who heads a cutting-edge AI company called Anthropic, is raising alarms tonight about AI's potential impact on employment that could soon be felt. While he says AI can lead to incredible advancements like medical breakthroughs and boost the economy, he believes it could also lead to half of entry-level white-collar jobs disappearing and 10 to 20% unemployment in the next 1 to 5 years. It's something that's been talked about within tech circles for a while, but rarely so starkly and so publicly. I spoke to him just before air about that and other implications he thinks AI may have on society. Dario, you've said that AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20%. How soon might that happen?
Well, let's, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. But just to back up a little bit, I've been building AI for over a decade. And I think maybe the most salient feature of the technology and what is driving all of this is how fast the technology is getting better. A couple of years ago, you could say that AI models were maybe as good as a smart high school student. I would say that now they're as good as a smart college student and sort of reaching past that. I really worry, particularly at the entry level, that the AI models are very much at the center of what an entry-level human worker would do. And so it's hard to estimate, exactly what the impact would be. And there's always this question of adaptation. And these technology changes have happened before, but I think what is striking to me about this AI boom is that it's bigger and it's broader and it's moving faster than anything has before. And so compared to previous technology changes, I'm a little bit more worried about the labor impact simply because it's happening so fast that yes, people will adapt, but they may not adapt fast enough. And so there may be an adjustment period.
You are running an incredibly important company in AI, and you know this better than anybody, or as well as all the names we know, people, Sam Altman and others who are working, Elon Musk in AI. Why are you raising the alarm? Because it's not necessarily, I would think, in your best interest, because a lot of the messages we hear from, at least publicly, from some AI CEOs and stuff is a little bit more calming, like, these agents are going to be great in your life, and yes, there may be problems, but writ large, this is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I'm raising the alarm is that I think others haven't as much, and I think someone needs to say it. To be clear, and I recognize it's always a difficult balance, right? I'm aware of my position that I'm building this technology while also expressing concerns about it, and the reason I'm doing both of those things is, one, I think the benefits are massive, and we need to find a way to achieve the benefits and mitigate or prevent the harms. And the second thing I would say is, look, there are, as you mentioned, 6 or 7 companies in the U.S. building this technology, right? If we stop doing it tomorrow, the rest would continue. If all of us somehow stopped doing it tomorrow, then China would just beat us. And I don't think China winning in this technology is, I don't think that helps anyone or makes the situation any better.
I do want to read something that Sam Altman, your former boss at OpenAI, said in September. He was saying that AI can cause significant, in his words, significant change in labor markets, good and bad. He went on to say that most jobs will change more slowly than most people think. And then he said this, and I want to just read it word for word. He said, many of the jobs we do today would have looked like trifling wastes of time to people a few hundred years ago. But nobody is looking back at the past wishing they were a lamplighter. If a lamplighter could see the world today, he would think the prosperity all around him was unimaginable. And if we could fast forward 100 years from today, the prosperity all around us would feel just as unimaginable. For younger people, I should say lamplighters was actually a job. People went around lighting lamps on the streets. I think a lot of people may not even know what a lamplighter is. But do you think Sam Altman is wrong?
Yeah, so, I think there are some things I agree with about that, and then there are some things that I think are too optimistic. So, I definitely agree that, AI, if we succeed at it, can grow the pie greatly, right? I wouldn't be surprised if economic growth is much higher than it is today as a macroscopic phenomenon, right? That AI allows society as a whole to be more productive. So
let me just say, because you've previously in the past said you've described a future where cancer is cured, the economy grows at 10% a year, the budget is balanced, and 20% of people don't have jobs.
That's exactly what I was getting to, right? Where I agree with all the positive potential. I think that isn't wrong. But I think the quote you just flashed is maybe too optimistic, maybe too sanguine about the ability for people to adapt. People have adapted to past technological changes, but I'll say again, everyone I've talked to has said this technological change looks different. It looks faster. It looks harder to adapt to. It's broader. The pace of progress keeps catching people off guard. And so I don't know exactly how fast, the job concerns are going to come.
See, I like what Dario Amodei says, or Amadei. I like what he says. He says the advancement of technology and automation keeps catching people off guard. It does. And his position is, sure, he's the CEO, founder of Anthropic, which is a that company didn't exist 7 years ago. And it's up there now. And his thing is, yeah, sure, I have all that going on. We have all that going on. But y'all need to let the people know what's getting ready to happen. That's the thing. Let the people know what's getting ready to happen. Because when it happens, it'll just be nothing there. When it becomes really difficult to get a job at an Amazon fulfillment center, that's going to be crazy. Amazon just got and this year they plan on, like they said, hiring 250,000 people, 250,000 people. Yeah, that's this year. I think for the next 3 years, people are fine. I think for the next 5 years, people are okay. And then that wall will hit where yesterday's entry level ain't today's entry level, because you won't need them. Look at all the movie theaters. You go in there and you pay at a kiosk. You do. If you even experience a McDonald's in certain cities, you don't even engage with the humans as much. You just don't. And it's that level it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be that level. I talked to a group of young people. All of them was under 30. I talked to them at a Starbucks. It's like 8 or 10 of them. Couple tables, me and somebody else, and we're just speaking as a group. Some of them in college, different things like that. My message to them was, if they were doing something where they would be a knowledge worker, my message to them was to learn some of the AI tools. Learn the tools that support and augment what you're currently doing. Do your research on the tools that any of these companies that you're looking to do an internship or externship that they use. 100 years ago when I was born, they wanted you at least learn Word, at least learn Excel. That's over with. Then later on, they was like, oh, if you know PowerPoint, oh, if you know Access. It's still a place, but that's over with. Now, you not only got to know some AI tools, you got to know some Python. Not because you're going to be a programmer. Not because you're going to be a coding engineer. Not because your major was even CIS. The reason why you might want to learn some Python and put that on whatever a resume is going to evolve and be called is because that signals to the potential employer that even though you're not applying for that position, it's good that you know that. Why? Because a lot of these modules and these add-ons and these other things that's happening, whether you're in the legal, the health, whatever space that is, there's going to be a level of AI. There's going to be a learning curve. There's going to involve some opportunity where coding or understanding it is necessary. I know it sounds crazy, but it is. We were just telling them that the new common things that you want to be able to put on your resume is some Python, AI tools that you use or familiar with, different things like that, along with what you're going to school for, your certifications, your experiences, and other things like that. Yesterday's resume can't be today's resume, because those things that people have been selling themselves on is going to be moot. It's going to be canceled out. It's going to be a wash. It just is. Somebody say you won't even be able to tell people. Absolutely. Check this actress out. Here's an actress right here. In fact, there was a reporter, but Here's an actress.
The name is Tilly Norwood. She appears to be a fresh-faced young woman who posts about pursuing an acting career. Watch this.
Let's get to know each other, and thanks for watching.
The reason this is getting attention is this actress is completely AI generated by a company called Particle 6.
Tilly Norwood, 100% AI generated.
By some company called Particle 6.
She'll do anything I say. I'm already in love. Girl next door vibes.
Like if a Sunday roast went to drama school and got BAFTA optimized.
But can she cry on Graham Norton?
Of course she can, and it'll be clipped, subtitled, and monetized on TikTok by lunchtime.
And Tilly Norwood has human actors quite a bit upset and definitely speaking out this morning. Major stars speaking up, saying that the AI, was trained using their work without their permission and without compensation. That is where Claire Duffy comes in to tell us about all of this and why this one seems different than other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's really striking from that clip that you just played there that the first mainstream
You know, to me, that's neither here nor there. That the AI generated that and without their permission, all of that's going to be worked through. All of that is going to be worked through. If anybody's thinking that any of that is going to get in the way of this freight train, of this tsunami called AI, it's not. It's just not. All these writers and actors and editors and all of this stuff, they need to start using, if they're not, using AI to augment, to make better the product that they produce. Because at the end of the day, most companies, when it comes to their bottom line, their growth, their trajectory, their profit, they're not going to care if AI made it or not. The only people that's going to care whether AI made it or not are the people. There's going to be some, of course. This is not an absolute statement. I'm not saying this in a vacuum. But it seemed like people don't get a conscience until they made it. You ever notice that? A lot of these companies, they don't start extending the empathy and all of this stuff until they made it. Now you done got all this damn money and now all of a sudden you want to give some back. But that's not going to be the default. The default is if they can save money, you heard Amazon say it, they're going to save 30% on every delivery. You know how much money that is? Writers, people don't care. Music, people don't care. They don't care. If it's going to sell, if it's going to go viral, if it's going to do what it's going to do. So what is AI? What's the difference between AI and me calling my homeboy up who's good at Excel if I'm having an issue with Excel? And I know somebody that's a power user. So I call them up and they can help me figure out concatenation or pivots or some type of sum formula or function in Excel. No, I'm going to call Copilot. See, that's what I'm going to do. Microsoft has Copilot for those applications. So I'm going to call upon Copilot. So nobody should be using the AI? You need a presentation, you need some formatting, you need something that gets you to the point where you can do the work instead of building the frame out and the wiring and the scaffold and all that, and you're just trying to get to the part where you can apply your creative ideas and do some work, and you're not going to use a ChatGPT, OpenAI's ChatGPT, you're not going to use Google's Gemini, you're not going to use Anthropic's Claude, you're not going to use any of that to get it done? Of course you are. Why wouldn't you? You want to get to the work. You don't want to burn yourself out creating the slide and the formatting and all that. No. I already know what I want. I've created it. I am being creative. This is not a cognitive offload. And that's a misnomer. That's a misnomer that people have. People have this idea that everything that people are doing with AI, it's just a cognitive offload. That's not true. Talk to people with jobs. Talk to people with clients. Talk to people who are knowledge workers who already know their craft. And they're just using the AI to get them to the place where they could do something or help troubleshoot something that they would have to do anyway. That's it. As an assistant. This idea that somebody's sitting there clueless and don't know nothing, and then they just send some question or some pitch through AI and they come all the way back with it, and then that's what it is not true, because it don't work. And the reason why that's really not a efficient way or use for somebody that has a fucking career or a job or clients where you're getting paid by a company or you're charging your client. And the reason why that doesn't work, try to use what AI sends you back without having any sensibility, context, experience, or knowledge base on what you're doing. You're going to lose that client. You're not going to be able to do your job. It don't work that way. The people who are experiencing a good experience, no matter how frustrating it can seem at times, with these AI tools are people who are already creative or have experience or have knowledge in what they currently do in their space, and then they use it as a tool. They're not clueless. They're not saying, I'm a doctor, and then using the AI to come up with all the doctor stuff for them, because it won't work. You can't be an electrician and do that. You won't make it as a data analyst or data scientist or programmer or any of that to do that. It doesn't work that way. And you know. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Shout out to I can't pronounce the name. What kind of name is that? Let me see. What type of name do you have? Hold up. Oh, it's anime. Okay. All right. It's anime. Shout out to the name I can't pronounce. It looks Japanese for a reason to me. But shout out to the name. That's that YAGAMI. It looks Japanese. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody that came through. Shout out to user XRRQ, maybe X93X. Yeah. Shout out to everybody that came through, man. Like I said, it's a concern that I think people should really take some notice to, and maybe give some guidance to the younger people. The younger people. That's what I try to do. You know, for me, I'm good, because one of the things that I realize I'm aware of, everybody that's currently working, everybody that's currently doing what they do, we know that there's an opportunity here. We're in a good space with it, and it's going to be that way, I think, for the next couple of years. I really do. I think it'll be that way for the next couple of years. But other people who their head is down, or they're really not paying attention to what's going on, I think that they should maybe look up, because it's just going to come through. And all of a sudden it's going to catch people off guard. Let me say this. Let me say this as an idea. I don't even hear much about them training the people for the future, because you're not going to need that many people to train for that. All you're doing is pairing people with a robot, because the robot's going to replace them. That's what you're doing. So these Amazon fulfillment centers, if there are 100 people in there now, 3 years from now, it's going to be 20 people. 5 years from then, I don't know. You're going to have 5 people running a whole damn fulfillment center. Yeah. Thanks for subbing, guys. Thanks for subbing. Yeah, so Tan, what I call you? Do you have a YouTube, like, do you be on a podcast? Like, can you come up as a guest if I have a panel or what? All right, Tan is cool. All right. Yeah, so if I have a panel and I want to discuss more about AI, can you come up or you don't do that? Nah, just okay. Yeah. Cause like when certain people come through and I'm like, okay, that's interesting what they say, they get it. Those are people I would like to have like a panel to just to have a conversation about, because I'm an OG, right? So that was the other thing I did on another video. I was talking about how people that are, let's say, people that are knowledge workers, they are, let's say, 55, 60, 65, 50 and over, right? 50 and over. Typically, 50 and over people, they've already committed and settled in on their current situation, their career. That's where they are. They done probably already figured out with their wife or significant other or husband, significant other, or themselves that this is what I'm going to be doing until I leave the work field, right? And this is where I am and I like my current situation. They're going to be disrupted. They're going to be disrupted. A lot of those people will be disrupted. It's just what it is. And that's something. That's something. Because, we're not talking about the 25-year-old or the 20-year-old, because they can flip it. They can come back and they can adjust, and they will, because that's just the way it goes. When you're young, you don't take it like that because you haven't lived to take it like that. You just get back up and you go back at it. What is it? Oh, we all AI? Okay, this is what it is. But people who are already where they are, like me, I'm already where I am. So if it comes through and I don't have a job or I don't have a client or I can't get whatever, I'm not really talking about me, because I get it to the point where I'm going to make something happen anyway. But I can't use me as the standard. That's why I don't like doing that. I don't like using people who get it and know how to respond as the standard, because I like using bell curve in terms of that standard deviation or that 68% a probability of what's going to happen is going to happen, and that's where most people are. That's where the majority of people that will be affected, that's where they are. But anyway, all right, I'm out, guys. Peace. I enjoyed it, man.